Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Coming to you live here from Minnesota. We're going to try this out for a couple of weeks here remotely. So hopefully everybody's having a good morning. I want to go ahead and jump in and do a quick review of what happened here yesterday, and then we'll get started with this morning's pre-market. So give me 1 second to scroll back here. Come back to the New York Open. So remember yesterday what we were saying from the highs of the overnight session. And let me go ahead and pull up the higher time frames here. We were starting to see the beginnings of a potential bearish divergence from the overnight highs, right? And we said that if we were to get any follow through, the issue is we don't know how far the market's really going to pull back before the bulls just go ahead and jump right back in and continue to push it, because that's what we've been seeing here for at least the last couple days, maybe the last 2 weeks. Seeing a lot of these pops that lead to a little pullback, and then it continues to go. So going into the open yesterday, that was really the only alignment we had, was the 4-hour and the hourly bearish signal up from the overnight highs. And what happened here, let's go ahead and go up into the 512. The market popped out of the open right to our scaffolding level. So there was a beautiful opportunity here, assuming you were a bear, to go ahead and short that level, and it took literally 3-4 ticks of heat there and got this huge pullback. Another beautiful opportunity on the pullback right off of our next support level down here at the Holy Orange power level. We literally tagged it with maybe a break of 1 or 2 ticks, and then the market made its rotation back up going into that second, or I guess the first hour of the open there. So good opportunities here to short the scaffolding with nearly no risk. Good opportunity to buy the Holy Orange power level with nearly zero risk. You can see there's a nice parry right off the 200 on the pullback. But like I told you guys in the past, when you see the rejection right off the 34 after it held the level you're watching, that's not a great sign. So if we were watching this live, say we took the 200, again, a trade with zero risk that started to get follow through, once it rejected off the FMA, that would have been my sign to get out, and went ahead and continued to chug lower from there. Again, holding the Holy Orange power level there for a decent pop, but just not a lot of follow through. You can see we held the Holy Orange power level again for an attempt to pop. The bulls just had no strength. The bears brought it back down. And then let's speed this up a little bit. We got the pop right back to the scaffolding, basically for a second test. Only it failed 1 tick in front and then came back down. And as you can see, all morning, despite the chop, we outlined the high of the day was our scaffolding, and the low of the morning was our Holy Orange power level. And it literally just bounced back and forth in a sideways choppy action until about midday, when the market failed through the Holy Orange power level and came right into our first pocket that we highlighted on the charts as being a great support area. So we talked about this range between 50% of the day before, right around 45.13.5, right up into that 45.18 area. And what do you know? The market bounced literally right in between those two levels. Right in the shaded region, we got the bounce. And then we're going to talk about this in our weekly webinar today. Beautiful parry right off VWAP. So once the market found support in our expected support zone, interestingly enough, the market bounced and rejected right off VWAP. And so today I want to talk about one of my favorite trade setups, using VWAP as kind of our main anchor point, along with some other things. So hopefully I'll see you guys there. By the way, and I'm going to go ahead and type this in the chat, we will be meeting 2 hours after this broadcast ends. So that for me now, being in Minnesota, is 10:30 a.m. Central Time, right? That's Central Time. That's our weekly webinar this week. That's the time. Next week we'll go back to regular scheduled programming, but for now, that's when we'll meet. So try to, if you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, figure out what that is for you. It'll be 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, so we're right near Chicago here. That's when we'll do our weekly webinar. So going back to the charts here, as you can see, beautiful hold right off the VWAP for a healthy little pullback, only to duck a little bit above and then come back down and start to come back into the support area And interestingly enough, the low of the day was our 50% level. So the high of the day was our scaffolding. The main pivot point throughout the morning was the holy orange power level, where we held above it for a long time. And then at the end of the day, came right to it to fail down to the low of the day. And the low of the day was our 50% level. So it doesn't really get much better than that. Obviously, it wasn't a straight line, but pretty much outlined the entire price action for yesterday. So that brings us into the pre-market here for this morning. In the overnight session, you can see there was a beautiful pullback right to the VWAP here. And we talk about this trade setup for multiple weeks now, going into the overnight session. In fact, if you look back right to the first hour or two of the open out of the Globex, we pulled back and held the VWAP for a bounce, pulled back, held VWAP for a bounce, pulled back, held VWAP for a bounce 3 times before it went ahead and went a little choppy there. And then through the overnight session, again, getting later into, actually looks like getting closer into, sorry, the times are throwing me off here. I think these times are still my Pacific times on my chart, so it's throwing me off here. But somewhere towards the evening there, a nice pullback right to VWAP to bounce again. So the fact that our topic for this week's weekly webinar is this parry off VWAP, it's very nice because we have beautiful examples just from the last day or two. So that brings us into the pre-market for this morning. Let's go ahead and jump up